Hey, what's up? This is Johnny, and welcome to episode 63 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm here today with two guests, Kathrin Folkendt and Pejman. Can't say your last name.
It's actually Afrakhteh, but I don't plan on you saying it, so just call me Paige.
Okay, so we have Pejman Afrakhteh and Kathrin Folkendt.
Almost.
Folkendt. They are my co-organizers of the Nomad Summit, which is coming up.
Yeah.
And we're really excited to talk about what that is, but more importantly, and how we put this crazy event together in way less than 10 days.
Record time.
So first, a little bit about the two of you. Kathrin, where are you from and what do you do?
Yeah, well, my name's Kathrin, as you said. I'm from Austria, and I'm a freelancer working out of Chiang Mai. I mainly work for clients in Europe and do their social media, copywriting, online marketing, email marketing, that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
And I'm Pejman. I've actually been in Chiang Mai a little bit over 2 weeks. Before coming here, I heard about Chiang Mai being a digital nomad hotspot from Johnny's podcast, so this is kind of like a full circle for me, being on the podcast. It's very surreal, and I'm a web developer, web designer, and graphic designer, kind of a generalist in all senses, and a photographer, so I feel like I could kind of help with any kind of service, so we'll take it one at a time.
So if you guys want to see the best looking website I've ever been a part of, it's nomadsummit.com, and thanks to Pejman for putting that together. If you want to see an ugly website, look at the Wayback Machine of johnnyfd.com. But we're really excited because the three of us have basically randomly decided to put together Chiang Mai, or I don't know, maybe definitely not the world's first, but I don't know, I've never really heard of any other digital nomads conventions or summits. Have you guys?
Yeah, well, I've heard of one in Berlin that's, I think, going to run in May, but it's like pretty expensive, actually. It's like 350 euros or something for attendees, and it's not so much like digital nomads for digital nomads. It's more like for people that are interested in location, independent business, stuff like that. So it's different in terms of the focus and also the people that are speaking there, I guess. So,
yeah, there's definitely a lot of big events like
the
I don't know, like the World Domination Summit or like the Super Affiliate Summit or the these big Amazon summits, and they almost always charge $500 to $1,000 per ticket. This one, how did this come about?
I think it's actually it was your idea. Like, you started chatting to us after the Nomad List IO meetup, about how there was like so many people showing up and what would happen if you actually put them in the room and gave them a format to discuss their experiences and skills. Yeah, so
shout out to Hashtag Nomad, which is a online chat platform put on by Peter Levels, who actually met out here in Chiang Mai I don't know, about a year and a half ago.
Genius, by the way.
A really cool guy. And he put together the nomadforum.io and then Nomad List.io.
Yeah.
So basically anything with Nomad and .io, Peter put out. And they had a meetup for their online chat group, which is Hashtag Nomad. And everyone thought, maybe 20, 30, 35 people would show up. But over 100 people showed up to this. And it was just a night to drink, basically, at a bar. It was at the blah blah bar in Chiang Mai.
Great name.
Yeah. And I was there thinking, wow, this is so cool. There's so many digital nomads. But mainly it was because I felt like I've already met most of them in Chiang Mai. But I realized I've only met the ones that I either already know, the ones that hang out at Pun Space, or whatever it is. And there's all these, different groups. And I was like, man, this would be so cool if everyone got together in a sober environment where you can actually hear each other and maybe we could all learn from each other.
And it happened in record time, which is ridiculous. Like, we were just talking outside the bar, and you're like, oh, I think I'm going to probably set up a conference or summit, like something along the lines where we could actually learn from each other. And I was like, yeah, awesome. But I didn't really expect it to be done in such record time.
A big reason is actually because Kathrin, you basically offered to help, organize, and you said you might be able to get sponsors. And I think the first time you mentioned it, I was like, kind of lazy. I don't know. Like, I have so many things to do right now. Like, maybe, and it's only 2 weeks away. Like, I don't think we can do it. But then I think you mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I knew that you genuinely wanted to help.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, you know, let's give it a shot. Let's try it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I actually thought you were the guy that was like, you know, let's do this. So I guess, you know, we just kind of fed off each other's energy on that there a little bit. But
well, I'm the type that if I decide to do something, I go 100%.
Yeah.
But if I decided to do everything that randomly popped in my mind, it'd be way too many projects.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that happened to me when I arrived here, actually. It's this, a butterfly kind of effect thing, you know? You're like, I mean, I'm a freelancer, but I also came here to, like, work on some other stuff of my own. And, you know, there's all those things, like, coming around, like drop shipping, affiliate marketing, whatever. And every week you, like, seem to have a new idea, right? And you're like, it's really, like, that's one of the challenges here, like, just stay focused, I guess, and, you know.
I think that's a high-value challenge where there's so many things out here that are actually working.
Right, yeah.
And you meet so many people who are successful with it, and you're like, wow, I can basically do any of these and be successful, so why not do all of them?
Exactly, yeah.
While one of the things that a lot of people struggle with back home is they're not surrounded by people who are successful with, you know, any kind of online business or any kind of, you know, anything like that, where they're so lost where they don't think anything works, and they're like, no, that won't work because of this.
Well, they got tunnel vision for the most part, right? They don't have that support group of helping them, and I feel like there's such a diverse group of people from all around the world, and I think for the most part are very smart. Everyone I've talked to here have been very smart, so I think definitely it's kind of an incubation. Gym time.
Is it gym time?
I actually let it run for a second because it was kind of nice with your story. Nice slow music. No, but it's absolutely true. And what's really cool is if you guys listen to the last episode 62 with Archie, he was a listener as well.
Yeah.
And then he was on the show and he talked about going full circle.
Yes.
And then now you as well.
Definitely. And I feel like it's kind of a trend. 2015 set out to be one pretty great year for digital nomads. I know Kathrin doesn't really like the term, but you know what?
I love it.
Last year's Digital Nomad.io, nomadlist.io was only like 20 or 30 people, and like you said, this year it's been over 100. So I feel like it's kind of like the tipping point. We're set for great things in the community.
So with this event, the Nomad Summit, we had no idea how many people would show up. We didn't know if people would come, you know, and we just decided, hey, let's give it a shot. So we started with just a Facebook events page. You know, literally, anyone can set this up in 2 seconds. And I didn't realize that as soon as I posted it, everyone sees it. So I was basically going to post it and then take my time to edit it, and then the next day I was going to invite people to the event. But literally, as soon as I pressed post, I was like, oh crap, everybody's joining it. And there was no cover image, there was no details, like really nothing on there. And we didn't have a website for the first couple of days. We didn't actually have a way to sign up. We were just like, well, you know what? Let's see what happens. Yeah. And I think 50 people, you know, RSVP'd saying they were interested, they were going to come. And this is before we posted it anywhere. I mean, this was people kind of just randomly finding it.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, starting with friends and, you know, other people, you know, spreading it. You know, because then what happens on Facebook events is if you click, yes, I'm going, your other friends see it. And then they're like, oh, that sounds cool. So they click, yes, we're going to go.
Yeah.
And I think it was after we had about 50 people or so, I said to Paige, I was like, hey, I bought the domain, nomadsummit.com. Which was available, by the way.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good domain.
And I was like, you know, do you mind, you know, helping put up a site? And I thought it was going to be, you know, I only use like Blogger or like Weebly, you know? If you look at my sites.
No, I'm kidding.
And so this is one of my first WordPress sites ever. And it's beautiful. So if you guys want to just check it out and see who's speaking at it, it's nomadsummit.com. And that... Yeah, I mean, I think once we had that up, we were like, okay, let's take it to the next level. So the next level was to actually reserve a seminar room. And because I had helped my buddy Anton with his retreat a few months ago, I knew that the Ibis Hotel had really nice seminar rooms. I wasn't sure how much it was going to be, but I was like, let's just go for it, you know? And Kathrin had mentioned that she might be able to get some sponsors. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take a leap of faith. I'm just going to reserve a room not knowing if anyone's going to come, if we're going to get sponsors, maybe I end up spending some money on my pocket, but it'll be fun. Let's just give it a shot. So I reserved the room, and Kathrin?
Yeah. Well, I just kind of got started in, approaching people that I knew and that I figured could, be interested in supporting our mission in that sense. And, in the beginning, it was really me just shooting off, emails and Facebook messages and trying to, get to people through people I knew in my network. There's a lot of companies out there that, what are we essentially trying to do? We're trying to, get more knowledge into the community and, just really encourage knowledge sharing and experience sharing. And there's a lot of companies that share those values or are even interested in hiring remotely. So for them, this is a pretty interesting opportunity to get in front of those people. And this was kind of like my target audience in terms of looking for sponsors. So as said, in the beginning it was just sending off messages, hey, would you generally be interested? And I got quite some positive feedback, which was very, very encouraging from likes like Buffer, Leo. I just want to say thank you so much. Even you you were the first person to tell me, oh, this is awesome, we'd love to sponsor this. So I really, really appreciate that you guys just, took that step with us and said, hey, we believe in what you guys are doing and we're going to help. And I actually put together a sponsorship document, even at that time when I did that, we didn't have all the website down or anything like that. So basically the strategy that I took was just, I was very, very open about everything we're trying to achieve. Essentially what we were trying to do is to build probably many of the listeners here are familiar with the Lean Startup, which I basically got to learn by heart working for a startup in Austria. And there's this concept of an MVP, the minimal viable product, and I guess that's what we tried building with that conference. The minimal thing, build it, push it out, and see what happens. And if the feedback's good, go ahead. And I think this is more or less what happened with that conference, right?
Yeah, 100%. So for a conference like this, the minimum viable product, the bare minimum we need is a Facebook page.
Yeah.
So that's what we made. We're like, okay, we don't need a website yet. We don't need a way to actually even collect tickets or anything. We could technically just have a place for people to meet and a Facebook page, and you'll have a conference. It won't, maybe it won't be as great as it could be, but it'll still work. And honestly, that was kind of the backup plan. Yeah. Is if we couldn't get enough people, let's say we couldn't get speakers, we couldn't get people, we couldn't get sponsors. I would have had it anyways and say, okay, let's all meet up in the hotel, lobby. Yeah. Exactly. And let's just hang out and let's just, meet each other in a quiet, and maybe in a quiet setting, and whoever wanted to talk could.
You could have always renamed it to the Digital Nomad Flash Mob, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But turns out that, people, start joining word of mouth, and then, Paige put up the website and it looked nice, and we used something called Eventbrite to collect actual emails. So the event is actually free, which is really cool. And I think the reason why I really wanted it to be free is, first, I think events can make a lot of money, and I know they do, but they take a lot of planning, number one. And second, that's not my business. I like this podcast because I like interviewing people, I like talking to people. I like the digital nomad community. I like meeting people. But I like making my money through normal stuff. So I have my e-commerce stores and my dropshipping stores, and that pays all my bills. So I have this free time to do these other things, which, I get to meet a lot of people. So you network. I end up learning a lot from everyone. And that, in the big picture, makes me more money in my other businesses. And I really wanted this opportunity for not just digital nomads, but let's say an English teacher who wants to become a digital nomad and doesn't know what to do, to be able to come to this event, not have to break their bank to attend, and learn something. And basically we gave away 120 free tickets,
which is awesome. I think this kind of an event should always be free, at least personally, because knowledge should always be free. And like you said, that English teacher, she might hear the keyword dropshipping or affiliate marketing, and she's going to go do some Google searches, but she's going to be so inundated with so much wall of text and information, all these marketers, either good or bad, black hat or white hat, coming at her, that I think this is kind of a razor blade. Events like these actually would really benefit the general population that are very interested in independent location living.
So I actually think that I would pay for an event like this if I knew what I was going to get out of it. So, for example, I have a friend that's flying to Austin, Texas to go to an Amazon FBA Mastermind Summit or something. I don't actually know the name of it, but the tickets to that are $1,000.
Yeah.
And he's spending another $1,000 to fly there. To me, that's absolutely worth it because he's now making, let's say a couple $1,000s a month from his Amazon store or his products. So it makes sense for him to go there, learn more, take it to the next level. And if he can make an extra $1,000 a month from what he learned, it's absolutely worth it. And the same as when people came for the dropshipping retreat, those people that invited, they were all making a couple $1,000s a month from their store already. And then after meeting each other, kind of learning from each other, learning all these tips and seeing how other people are doing and kind of learning from them, now they're all making more money per month as well. So I think for very specific things like that, it's absolutely worth paying for. I think the reason why I wanted this one to be free is because this is more of an intro to everything,
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and also, I don't know. I mean, people can... My only goal for this was actually, to be honest, just not to lose too much money. But thanks to Buffer, if you guys haven't used Buffer, they are an awesome app. So basically, what it does is it schedules all your social media and it frees up your time. So let's say you want to put up a blog post, instead of having to go to Facebook, post it up, go to Twitter, post it up, go to all these different social media sites, you can just have it automatically send out. But not only, just right away, you can have it sent out at sporadic times. And this is how a lot of big name, people that seem busy seem to be tweeting 24 hours a day. Once an hour or 24 hours a day is because they schedule all this stuff in advance. And especially for location-independent digital nomads, it's so important because when I am posting something right now, it is like 4 a.m. in the US and no one's going to see it. So if I schedule a blog post and I just post it live when I'm done writing it, maybe 10 out of 1,000 people are actually awake still, and those people aren't really, they're not really thinking straight. They probably just got back from drinking or they couldn't sleep. But if I schedule it to go live at 10 a.m. when people are at their jobs and they're just surfing the internet, it's the perfect time. So.
Definitely.
Yeah, and one interesting thing about Buffer is also that they have a super open company culture. So you can also check out their open blog where they talk about how they run business, how they grew, how they work with their employees, and they are one of the few companies that are completely open to hiring wherever. So maybe also a good opportunity for people who are not ready to jump into the having an own business kind of thing and still want to take advantage of location independent life.
Yeah, so definitely, I think that's really cool that a lot of companies are allowing people to work from anywhere now.
Yeah.
Because Chiang Mai is a great place to live and work.
Yeah.
And, really all of Thailand, all of Southeast Asia is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chiang Mai and Bangkok are definitely the introduction to Southeast Asia, and always have been. But places like Saigon, even
Ubud,
yeah, definitely. Manila is actually up and coming. Makati is definitely getting some really fiber optic cable, fast internet, and I feel like this is the place to be. Obviously, the worlds are shifting, and Asia's where it's at.
So, Paige, you traveled a ton.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so what got you to start traveling so much?
I've always been interested in the world. I grew up with Tintin comics, and if you know what that is, it's basically a guy traveling around the world and seeing the wonders of the world. And I just feel like there's a sense of wanderlust about travel that a lot of people definitely tune into or don't. And I feel like there's definitely a separation between the kinds of travels that you could do. I mean, you could go on a package tour and you could have kind of like a coordinated to-do list and everything and be out of there in 2 weeks. Whereas I think if you could kind of, go traveling with an open mind and look at the world through a different lens and a more caring and more responsible lens, and not really sticking to any,
Like a script.
Like a script, exactly. Like just go there on a whim, see what happens. And if you feel like, if you're in the States right now, be like, oh, well, I have a job, I have a mortgage, I got a car. Honestly, those things are the least of your worries. I've always said, I think the time to travel is now, because I came to Thailand in 2010. You've talked about Koh Phi Phi, I'm sure, on your podcast. It's pretty basically where Full Moon Party happens. It's pretty awesome. And literally in the span of 5 years, I've seen that island turn from a village, a fishing village, to a full-fledged tourism
Party island.
Yeah. And like, this is not just one isolated incident. It's really all around the world.
The only good thing about that is there's always going to be another island somewhere that's not developed yet. So I think a lot of times it's not, you know, specifically the place that you go, but it's when you go. So
yeah,
people talk about, you know, Koh Phi Phi or Koh Phangan as these beautiful, pristine places that they remember from 5 years ago. And a lot of times people are disappointed now. They're like, it's so built up, so touristy. So people are very unhappy to go there now.
Yeah.
But there's going to be an island close by there that we've never heard of.
Definitely. I mean, like, for example, Indonesia has 20,000 islands. So you're not going to try to populate all of those at the same time. So there's always the unbeaten path, and I highly recommend your listeners to definitely take that route and at least try it.
Yeah, and right now the ones I can think of off the top of my head, in Cambodia there's an island called Koh Rong, which to me is at the perfect time to go, because I personally don't like going to places that, you know, that has nothing yet. Like, I don't want to stay in a fishing village and, you know, and have, you know, not be able to communicate, not be able to do things. But at the same time, I don't want to be somewhere where all the package tours are. Definitely. So I like it when it's just built up enough where there's easy transportation, there's actually hotels to stay at,
some kind of a Wi-Fi, at least some few hours in a day. I mean, you're not asking for much here.
So, you know, there's some kind of, you know,
infrastructure,
right? Yeah. And, you know, right now it's Koh Rong, but I guarantee you 2 years from now you're gonna go there and be like, what was Johnny talking about? This place is so built up,
and nothing stays forever, right? So. Yeah, as you said, definitely check it out now, because it's not going to be the same, or at least be here in a few years.
And especially with a lot of wildlife stuff. Like, so I'm going scuba diving actually the day after the summit ends.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so it's going to be a nice break, because I'm doing all these projects right now. I'm actually hiring 2 Filipino VAs. And it's forcing me, because I'm going to be without internet for 5 days. And I'm freaking out, you know? And luckily, my girlfriend also now runs a dropshipping store, so she knows how to fulfill orders and send out the tracking numbers and all that stuff. So she's volunteered to do it for me, you know. So thank you, Larissa. But I was worried. I was like, well, what if she wanted to come with me on this diving trip? Then I wouldn't be able to go. You know, I would just be screwed. I would either have to pause my business for 5 days and risk, you know, unhappy customers, you know, risk, you know, all these things. Or I would only be able to go places where I have to be able to check internet, you know, even like an hour a day. You know, that's what I've been doing with all my travels, where when I'm on vacation, I won't really work full time.
Yes.
But every morning I'll wake up an hour early, or before I go to bed for an hour, and just answer all the emails, fulfill all the orders. And to a lot of people, they're thinking, well, you know, that's pretty nice. You know, you're working 4 hours a week, you know, as Tim Ferriss prescribed. And you're still be able to travel, still do whatever you want. But unfortunately, that limits me. Like, I want to be able to go trekking in Nepal. I want to be able to go on this liveaboard scuba diving trip where I'm at sea for 4 days. So that's why I'm hiring these VAs.
And I feel like, you know what, I've kind of gone through this problem myself, and Tim Ferriss actually talks about it with Rolf Klotz, which is actually the writer of Vagabonding. I highly recommend that book if you've never traveled. Get that book. It's kind of a philosophical introduction to traveling. And basically what they talk about is this, that, you know, you could be traveling and you could be working at the same time, but, you know, constantly being on your mobile phone or being connected to Facebook and to the wider world kind of takes away from the significance of where you're at, and kind of downplays the fact that you're in this amazing setting. And I think that obviously, like, 1 hour a day is definitely doable, and we're running businesses here, as you said, and you want to definitely maintain that. And that's the beauty of it, like maintaining an online business while traveling. I think nothing is more bliss than that. But at the same time, it's about an equilibrium or a balance of that. And obviously, you know, try not to overdo it with Facebook, and being on the internet in a magical place like Thai islands, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm more along the lines of you, Johnny, on that one. Like you mentioned before that I'm not so fond of the term digital nomad.
I don't blame you.
which is mainly why I don't think I am necessarily one of them. You know, it kind of implies that you're traveling all the time. You know, you have like all your stuff in one bag. It's to be honest, not that desirable. Like I like kind of having a home base here in Chiang Mai and like doing the, you know, trips every once in a while to the Thai islands, which are very beautiful, or also other places abroad. But, you know, I like that idea of having a home base, and actually like my productivity actually really went up ever since I'm regularly at a co-working space, which Johnny told me a month ago, but I didn't want to listen.
Now that you started going, so you've been out there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And how do you like it compared to working at a coffee shop, working at home?
Well, I love it. I really do, mainly because it even takes away those 5 to 15 minutes, depending on in what mood I am, of thinking about what coffee shop am I going to today. Thinking and you know, it just makes it sounds really, really stupid, but it just like gives your day so much structure if you like have that place to go to and to do that. And that has even like somehow affected the rest of my life. Like I'm better with like sticking to my gym schedule, doing sports, and also, you know, more regular. I mean, I'm kind of jumped in the paleo train now, so also with the eating and, you know, being around people who share my values, it's good. And you also, you know, you have someone to talk to, and that's kind of like in the same situation as you are. So if you have a question, I don't know, like I know that I could walk up to you guys if I, you know, had something that I think you guys have expertise with, and I'm sure I could help. So it's really improved my working experience, I guess. Yeah, not just working, actually, that's the wrong term.
It's work, social, kind of everything.
Yeah.
And I'm much more productive as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about co-working spaces a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're popping up everywhere in the world, because I think wherever I am, I'm always going to work in a co-working space and not out of home or out of a coffee shop. If I just need to kind of, you know, if I'm on vacation, I need to just do something, I'll go to a coffee shop. But if I actually want to get something done, I'm going to go to an office.
Yeah.
But what we were saying earlier about having a home base and traveling from there, I mean, so we're sitting in my apartment right now where I live with Larissa, and right when you guys walked in, the first thing you noticed was all the photos on the wall.
Yeah. You got decoration, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that, you know, it was Larissa's idea to put those photos up.
Yeah.
But they're basically, you know, it's her entire family.
Yeah.
It's up to her mom, her dad, her brother, her, you know, and my niece, my, you know, my nephew, my sister, my parents are up there. And it really makes it feel homey.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a quality that most guys aren't very good at. Like, you know, for when we decorate things.
I concur.
You know, and it what I like about it is when I'm here, even though I'm not in the U.S., I'm not, you know, where I was born, it still feels like home. You know, we have a full kitchen here. We're sitting at our dining room table. We have a sofa, and it's very different than the first 4 years of my travels, where I was in like a hostel or you know, in a cold room.
Yeah.
I could tell you that as a traveler for the last 5 years, I've also stayed in hostels, and you know what? As much fine and fun as they are, they're gonna run out of their steam. Like, you're gonna want to have some kind of a place that you could always call home. But I agree with you guys and also disagree with you. I think, like, in my opinion, having a home for maybe 4 months to a year, definitely, like, that's a good place to put yourself, and like, you're gonna learn the inside out of Chiang Mai. You're definitely gonna learn what's good, what's bad. The people are going to be coming in. You're going to make a big social network around yourself. And I feel like Chiang Mai is already a good place because you could, you know, hop on a plane and you're immediately in India or China. Or, I mean, basically everything is just so accessible. But I feel like also having too many things tying you down is definitely something that I try to stay away from. And I try to live very nomadic. I'm sorry to use that word again, but like, if you come into my room, and I literally do not have any of these decors or anything, but I've also been here for 2 weeks, so I haven't been able to grab all that stuff. But I feel like definitely getting a balance of that as well is very key. And
yeah, I mean, I guess there's like times for both situations. In life,
definitely.
you know? Like, I don't know, who knows what the future brings. Maybe in 4 weeks I'll wake up and be like, oh my god, this sucks, I really want to leave. So it's just,
and the beauty of that is that you can,
exactly,
because you don't have the mortgage, and you're doing it monthly, and it's very easy to just take off.
Well, one example is, so we have a washing machine, which is right over there. I would never ever buy a washing machine while I'm traveling in Thailand, even if I thought I was going to live here for a while. I just don't want that responsibility. But what I like about things like picture frames is I can just pack it, or I can just leave it. You know, I can just print out new photos when I go. I can just take the photos itself. So even though it looks like I have a lot of stuff, because this place is fully furnished, I don't actually own any of this,
which is great.
I can still pack everything I want in maybe 2 or 3 bags, throw away the things that I don't. I can just buy again when I don't need. And then like the blender, for example, like I'm not with the ice cream maker. I'm not going to bring that with me. I'm just going to give it to someone when I leave, or you can sell it. But what it does is the 6 months or the year that I am here, I can really feel like I'm at home and not feel like I'm giving anything up. But my travel style now has changed a lot from the first couple of years. Now I really like staying here for 1 or 2 months and then going on a 2-week vacation somewhere.
Yes, definitely.
And that way I can really travel hard, play hard, enjoy myself, and then come back and just chill out for 2 months.
And be energized again too, right?
Yeah.
So what are your travel plans for the next couple of months?
Honestly, I'm just kind of trying to figure that out. I definitely want to see more of Thailand. You were speaking about the islands before. I've heard many good things about Koh Samet and Koh Lipe.
Okay.
Yes.
So I really, really want to go see those places. And I'd love to go up north again. I've been to Pai. I really love it. It's so serene, the rice fields, just that whole thing. But with Pai, the birding season is coming up, so I guess I'm kind of postpone that a little. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see.
So let's talk quickly about birding season.
Yeah.
What have you heard about it?
I've heard everything from we will all die to it's actually not that bad. Life goes on in Chiang Mai. So honestly, like at the moment, I don't really have an opinion on it. So I'm just gonna wait and see how it is. And if it's really as bad as I've heard from some people, I'm probably just gonna hop on a plane and go south for a bit.
So what is birding season, Paige?
I believe that all the farmers around Chiang Mai burn their crops to fertilize the soil. Is that correct?
Or even just to clear the soil for the next year's crops.
And I think I guess they have to do that, but it's also a carcinogen to us. So take it with a grain of salt.
And it usually happens. It depends on the weather, like if it's dry enough for them to burn it. Because if it's raining, if it rains like 2 weeks before, they obviously can't burn it. So the saving grace would be if if it rains or the weather's not good, then they just won't burn for a while, or maybe they just have to skip it. I don't know what will happen. But usually by mid-March, so let's say March 15th, it's dry enough where they can burn all the crops, and they usually do this for about 2 weeks or so.
Right.
So the actual burning season can start as early as mid-February, but normally it starts mid-March, and it always goes until 2 days before Songkran, which is April 13th, which is the water festival.
Yay!
Are you guys gonna be here for that?
Definitely planning on being here for that, for sure.
I was here for it last year. Last year was my second time doing it, and the first time was amazing.
Yeah, I heard on the podcast.
It's so fun. All right, so if you guys go listen to last year's podcast, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And then so this year I've actually decided it's a little bit too fun. It's a little bit too crazy. It's almost like, it's kind of like going to a rave during the day. It's like going to a music festival or a rave where everyone has water guns. And you do this for like 5 days.
Yeah.
So it is very, very fun. I've done it, so I encourage everyone else to do it once. But I think I'm actually going to stay away from Thailand just for that week.
Fair enough. Yeah. After 3 years, you probably get a little bit tired of it, but I'm definitely going to be here, so we'll see.
But I think that kind of just shows that, like, it's all about, life is all about timing, again. It's one thing that can be super fun to someone, or even to the same person, may not be fun if they're at a different stage in their life, at a different point. And it doesn't mean we should look down on the event and say it's not good. Like, so Koh Phaeng, we're all three of us, we're talking about how much of a crazy party place it is, how much package stores are there. But at the same time, if you've never been to Thailand, and let's say you're in your 20s, you're gonna go there and think, wow, this is the best place in the world. Everything is organized. There's so many people here. Everyone's here to party. Everyone. It's basically paradise. If that's what you're looking for.
And to be fair, like what I've also heard about Koh Phangan is that there's actually quite a lively kind of digital nomad community building there. I mean, I think they have their first co-working space opening.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, not so much my thing, but everybody has their kind of preferences.
So Koh Phangan has basically two areas: the north and the south.
Yeah.
Hadrin Beach is the very south point, and that's where the full moon party is, as well as probably the half moon, quarter moon, no moon, black moon parties.
Shiva moon.
There's basically parties every week when you're there. And it gets wild, it's insane. But in the north, which is...
Hadiao, I think?
Yeah, I've actually never really been there. I've been there to go scuba diving, but I didn't stay there. And it's an hour and a half drive, kind of through jungle roads. So it's actually a little bit hard to get to.
Very lush.
Yeah.
Very lush.
Yeah, and that is quiet. It's beautiful. Even when the full moon party itself is going on, nobody goes up there because it's so far.
Yeah, it's just kind of in one epicenter at the south. And like, if you want to escape the madness, like just get on a motorbike and go north. And it's honestly one of the most beautiful islands I've been to, and I've been to my fair share. So.
Yeah. So I would definitely check out Koh Phangan, and I would love to check out the co-working space there as well. Do you remember the name of it?
I don't. But I mean, definitely you'll be able to find that.
We'll put a link to it in the show notes, episode 63. And in Koh Lanta, they have their first co-working space now as well.
Really?
Yep. It's called a Co-Hub. And we're going to check it out when we're down there. So my parents are coming in March. And my sister, her husband, my niece, nephew, mom, dad. It's going to be a big family event. And Larissa's going to meet them for the first time. And originally I was going to rent 3 hotel rooms side by side.
Whoa.
But instead I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure we can just rent like a big house for the same price. So we found I cannot believe I actually had to Google villa rentals Koh Lanta, and we found a great place. It's a 3-bedroom place right on the beach, and it wasn't that expensive. It was it wasn't super cheap, but to me it's I'm like, wow, my family can all stay together. We have a kitchen where some days we can have breakfast and stay in. So that I'm really excited for.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Be nice. Good trip.
Yeah, I'm actually getting a family reunion it's coming up in Istanbul, and we got a house for the whole family for like $150 a month, a day, which is like pretty amazing in the center of Taksim Square in Istanbul.
So how did you find yours?
Well, actually, it was a friend of a friend, but easily you could find relatively similar pricing on Airbnb and Agora, Agoda.
Okay.
Yeah, so like it's very easy to find these kinds of locations. You don't necessarily have to go live in a hotel, but the opportunities are endless.
So for Koh Lanta itself, I looked at a bunch of different platforms to rent the place. I looked on Agoda, and they had a couple, but villa is a very loose term. Yeah. Often you have a hotel suite and they call it a villa, but you can't really have a family there. It's really just for let's say honeymoon.
Sure.
And then you have the actual houses. You have all these random different things. So I looked on Airbnb. I don't remember. I forgot why I didn't look more in Airbnb. Maybe just people in Thailand don't use it that often, or I just couldn't find a decent place on there. But then on there, they actually had, these websites where all they do is cater to people who want to rent, these family houses. But I ended up renting it through TripAdvisor.
Really?
Yeah. They actually have they have the easiest search tool to find these villas, because then you can say how many bedrooms and bathrooms you want.
Right.
But what it is, it's actually not TripAdvisor. It's one of their services called Turnkey.
I have used them. Yes. It's a subsidiary or something. Right?
Yeah. But here's the little travel hack: is before purchasing it, I just messaged the owner directly.
Yeah.
Hopped on Skype with them and explained to them the situation. I said, "Look, my whole family's coming. Can I pay you directly and save on this fees? Because Turnkey TripAdvisor they charge quite a bit. I think they charge 5% or something. And that adds up when something's over $1,000.
Right.
And he said, yeah, you can pay me through PayPal, but there's this deposit that you have to put, that if you have to send it back and forth, we're gonna end up spending this X amount of money anyways. So at the end of the day, what he did is he said, look, you guys are staying for 9 nights, I'll just charge you for 8. And we ended up paying through turnkey as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, never hurts to ask. I think it's hard to ask for a discount on things, but if you're staying there for let's say 8 nights and say, can I just, pay for a week? I would think most people would, they would be pretty open to that. So you might as well try.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Koh Lanta, have you guys been there?
Yeah.
I am definitely going in about 2 weeks.
Okay. What have you heard about it, and what did you like about it?
Well, my best experience in Koh Lanta was that I actually learned how to ride a scooter there, which has definitely brought up my experience in Chiang Mai too. I was actually on my scooter in the very south of the island, where there's a big national park, and there was monkeys running around, and one of them stole my M&Ms, and I hope he didn't die eating them. And I was literally all by myself watching a sunset. Oh, well, that sounds a little more sad than I wanted it to, but yeah. So it was just really, really an amazing experience, and I felt that the island is big enough so that it doesn't feel super crowded, but it's pretty well developed. So it has the best of both worlds, and I really, really had a great time there.
Okay.
And I've been to the South Islands, but I've never actually ventured to Koh Lanta. And through my travels, everyone keeps talking about Koh Lanta, Koh Lanta, Koh Lanta.
Yeah.
And I've heard that it's actually not that touristic, and it's kind of a more laid-back place, and it kind of still has the authentic Thai island feel. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's also obviously a kind of a location for liveaboards and diving, correct? Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely on board with that, and really looking forward to it, man.
So far, Koh Lanta has had the best scuba diving in Thailand.
Really?
That I've been to.
That's good to know.
There's a dive site called Hin Dang and Hin Muang, which means red rock, purple rock, and that's where I saw the manta rays. Really, really cool. I'll have a link to the YouTube video of us actually underwater,
nice.
Watching these things. I'll put it in the show notes of this episode if you guys want to watch it. But Koh Lanta is beautiful, and it's about timing. It's one of those things where I'm sure, unfortunately, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's going to be the next Phuket. It's going to be overly built up, overly touristy, and it's not going to be as nice anymore. But right now, it is my favorite island in Thailand.
I guess one of the advantages we have with traveling, we talk a lot about places being touristy, but then the advantage we have is we can kind of avoid high season.
Yes.
So, it's not about, just having, time off over Christmas or New Year's when everybody's going, but due to the nature of the business we're doing, we're a little bit more flexible. So I guess, we can kind of work around those dates a little and actually go and see those places when they're not as crowded.
Too. I went to Pai just last week, and it was still at the very brunt of the high season, and everything was twice as expensive. So if you went a week or a month from now, you would definitely be paying half the price. Yeah,
especially with combinations. If you look at any of the places, like the place that we rented in Koh Lanta, because March is still the end of high season.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a little bit unfair, to be honest, because they extend what is high season way longer than what it really is. But if you were going to go, let's say in July, where it's kind of the monsoon season there, where for most days it's still beautiful and you can still chill on the beach, but there's no diving on those days. The places are literally half price.
Yeah.
So, it really kind of depends on what you're looking for. The place I'm going to next week, right after the summit, is Khao Lak. Have you guys heard of it?
I have.
Yeah.
I
haven't been to.
Never.
Yeah.
No.
So I've never been there either. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
What have you heard about it?
Not much. Just that it's very beautiful and not as crowded, really. That's the things you hear about, in terms of islands, the ones that people that are not crowded.
I feel like the smaller island, the better, at least. So I feel like Koh Lak is also a smaller island, correct?
Yeah. So I don't actually know if it's an island. I'm sure. I'm assuming it is.
Island, doesn't it?
Yeah. So on the map, what it is Khao Lak is an hour north of Phuket. So you would fly into Phuket Airport, or you could fly to Krabi, drive for about an hour, and you're on this coastal town. So it's more of a coastal, beachy town
kind of thing.
Yep, than actual island. But what's nice about it is that is the landing point to the Similan Islands, which is supposed to be the best diving in Thailand. I haven't been there yet, so I can't say if it's better than Koh Lanta. But from what I've heard, it's kind of one of those things where those are the two that fight for first place.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Yeah.
The downside to the Similans is it's so far off land that you have to do a liveaboard.
And I've also heard, unfortunately, there has been some chloral bleaching, but I mean, it's not escaping it from most places either.
So I'll check it out and I'll report back if it's worth it or not.
Yeah.
I might even do a podcast while I'm on the boat. I don't know. We'll see.
Why not? You did it from Koh Rong, right?
Yeah. But basically what a liveaboard is a big... It's almost like being on a cruise ship, but only for diving.
Without the food.
No, I've heard the food on liveaboards is really good. Yeah. I heard all you do is you dive and eat.
Wow, that sounds like heaven.
Yeah. So you basically there's a chef on board who cooks while you're underwater, and as soon as you come up, there's food between every dive.
That's probably worth the money then.
Yeah, and it's not cheap, but it's not as expensive as I thought it would be. So it's about $200 a day, and it's for a 3-day, 3-night. It's about $600 or $700. So it's definitely not cheap, but it is one of those things where you can save up for, and it's definitely worth going to.
Definitely.
So I'll report back and then tell you how that is, but I'm excited, especially right after the summit.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice to just unwind.
It's going to be fun either way, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to everything.
What are you looking forward, like for the summit itself, what are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to actually hearing some of the people that have been in. I'm very interested in dropshipping, just like you, hearing it from it, and kind of making a business for myself. And it's really great to see people in first person that have also been making it. And I feel like there's such a wealth of knowledge out there that we could definitely tap into. And a lot of these things are parallel. I feel like some speakers are going to have a lot of information about internet marketing, affiliate marketing, I believe, in general. And a lot of them have very successful businesses, and you could basically cherry pick ideas based on their success. And if you're very good at what you're doing, and if you have the vision and the drive, you could definitely implement that for your own bottom line as well.
And Kathrin?
Yeah, for me it's also the speakers, and I'm like super psyched because especially people in like dropship or affiliate, they're sometimes a little bit like don't want to talk so much about like what they do. So I just think it's so exciting that we actually found some really, really awesome people that are willing to like get on that stage and actually share some of their experiences. So that's what gets me really, really excited right now. And also obviously the networking, just like all the excitement that has been in the group. And when you look on Facebook, everybody's so much looking forward to that. And I think it's just going to be, a really, really, really great event and a great day.
Yeah, I'm excited as well because so a lot of the people that are speaking are people that I've met in person, and I knew that they would be good speakers, so I invited them to come speak. But even some of them, I've never really talked too much about what their actual business is because, as Kathrin said, a lot of times people will just...
Hush.
They're like, especially people that are doing very well, either they don't have time to explain what they're doing, or they're kind of like, well, I'm doing so well that I kind of want everyone else doing as well. Yeah. So I was actually a little bit surprised at some of the people who are openly going to talk. For example, there's a guy named Philip he owns Hammock Universe, which used to be a dropshipping site. He used to just basically dropship hammocks, and he did so well that he decided, he's like, well, why am I just dropshipping it? Why don't I just import these hammocks and private label them and create my own brand? So the reason why he's okay talking about his niche and what he does is because he's kind of gotten over the first initial hump, where he doesn't actually have to protect the niche anymore, because he is the supplier.
He is the niche.
So he is a niche now. And what's really funny is after I interviewed him for the podcast, somebody messaged me saying, "Hey, he's my supplier for my dropshipping store."
Wow.
Awesome.
So I thought that was really funny. So he's speaking. Mark Brenwall is speaking about Amazon FBA, and he basically, creates CrossFit exercise equipment. So he has like a jump rope and he has some other gear. So he's pretty openly talks about that as well. Ben Finnegan, he also is actually a dropshipper as well, but he's talking more about how to hack your health, because one thing that we don't really know about Ben is he's been through a lot of health issues, including he got he got Lyme's disease for a while.
I can't believe that. That's crazy.
And he somehow cured himself of it just by eating a very strict paleo diet, as well as some other kind of health tricks that he's going to talk about. This guy named Jordan Bishop, who I actually haven't met, but he's a flight hacker. I think he's going to talk a little bit about travel rewards and things like that.
Very keen on that.
Leon J, who is he's the co-founder of Coffee Monster, which is one of the co-working spaces here. I've seen him a bunch. I've never actually had a conversation with him, but I know he does really well. He is the owner of something called Fusion HQ, which is a big startup, and he's, finally we got to actually find out what he does and have him, talk about the business. Sean Lee, who I had on the podcast, but I would love to talk to him more because he makes $1,000 a day from his YouTube channel, and to me that is very, very cool. So he's going to talk about that. And I think the person I'm looking forward to most is a girl named Natalie J. Have you guys ever met her?
No, I haven't. Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know how much money she makes, but it's in the millions.
Really?
Yes. And it's one of those things where a lot of people come to Chiang Mai because it's a cheap place to live, where we can bootstrap, and I think it's awesome where, to get started here. But the one big complaint a lot of people have is there's not enough, high earners in Chiang Mai. There's not enough people making six figures or making, more than $10,000 a month. But there are. And usually you just don't know them.
Because they're just working really hard.
Most likely not working from co-working spaces.
And, so luckily, I met her through a friend, through Ben actually. And I told her about the summit, and I was really surprised with it. She was like, yeah, I'll talk about it. She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So there's going to be 10 plus speakers for the summit. Everyone's going to talk in kind of like a TED style talk, because it's going to be, instead of having hour-long talks about subjects that people may or may not be interested in. So let's say someone's talking about, Amazon or dropshipping or wholesaling. Not everyone's gonna be interested in it, so people just kind of want to learn, they want to know what it is, but they don't want to dive deep in it yet. What I like about these talks is people are just gonna give you the best 20-minute, presentation, and then we'll have time for Q&A. You'll have time to meet them afterwards. We'll take a lot of breaks so people can meet each other, and I actually feel a little bit bad about hyping this up so much because it is sold out.
Yeah. We're going to have videos, right?
Yeah.
I hope so. So, definitely check out nomadsummit.com. We'll try to have the videos up, not too much later after the event. But I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Johnny, for doing that.
Yeah, no. Thank you guys. Because honestly, I wouldn't been able to put together this event if it wasn't for the help of both of you. And that's why I wanted you two on this podcast today.
More than welcome.
Yay.
And I just checked it. We have 158 people that are confirmed to go to the event, which we put together in
less than 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
In less than 10 days.
Yeah.
Wow. So go out and do the same thing, people. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, really, it's just about implementation. I think my talk may be on that, but in case I end up talking about something else, I just want to leave everyone with, if you guys have an idea, there's always going to be pros and cons to it. There's always going to be speed bumps or doubts. But if you think it's a good idea, just do it. This podcast is the ultimate example of it. I was on somebody's podcast, this guy named Terry Lin, and I thought, hey, that's pretty fun. I was like, maybe I should make my own podcast. And then a week later, I started to travel like a boss.
That's awesome.
And now 63 episodes later, 10,000 downloads a month, we are here. And what's the best part of it is it's full circle now, where the listeners like Archie and like you, Paige, are now show guests.
That's amazing. Very surreal. And I'm looking forward to building my own podcast. So I'm definitely learning everything that you're doing and trying to implement it as well. So.
Yeah. So, Kathrin, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Where can people find you?
you can check out, like, my name is a little bit complicated, but I guess you can find it in the show notes. It's kathrinfolkendt.com, my site, where I just like talk a little bit about what I do and who I am.
Okay. And Paige?
I have just my portfolio site at digital-nomad.me, and you can find some of my landscape and world photography on there as well, and some of my graphic design works in the past.
Very cool. So if you guys want to have links to any of this or anything we talked about, please go to travellikeabosspodcast.com, show notes, episode 63. And some of you guys, I hope to see you either at the Nomad Summit this weekend, or for the next one we put up 6 months, a year from now. Whatever happens, yeah.
Who knows?
See you in Chiang Mai.
See you guys. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.